Since 1963, Indiana University Northwest has been proud to call Gary its home, but during that period, Gary has had to weather some serious economic challenges. Once a premier booming industrial city, Gary was crippled by the decline of the American steel industry. In addition, fears about desegregation and black political empowerment led to a mass migration of white citizens from the city to the suburban communities, depriving Gary of half its population and most of its wealth. Finally, the shift of retailing from downtown to the suburban malls left Gary with an abandoned shopping district. The remaining population, which was predominantly African American, struggled to rebuild, but often found it difficult to acquire the necessary resources.
When black entrepreneurs tried to get loans, all the banks in the region are controlled by whites. One of the things Hatcher hoped to do was to create a bank that black people controlled that would be more amenable to loaning money to black entrepreneurs. But there's a state banking board, and the suburban bankers put the kibosh on anything like that taking off, which I think is a shame.
When the economic decline and the loss of jobs led to problems with crime, the business environment became even more difficult. But determined entrepreneurs have always been able to find opportunities.
We have various, I guess in the old days you would call them urban pioneers, who are willing to take the risk to invest in an urban center like Gary. Alan Pfefferman is such a developer who developed that particular strip mall, and he did so at a time when the economy had pretty much bottomed out in Gary, and this is probably you're talking about in the 70s, early 80s. And he was one of those first urban pioneers who decided to come back in and start reinvesting in the city of Gary. So he started building these little strip malls and rehabbing some of these old commercial structures in the central business district, and then moving mom and pop businesses back into them. And he found a modicum of success in doing so. Both strip malls are doing very well, and he's developed other buildings along the Broadway corridor that are doing quite well, and that stretches all the way to Glen Park.
During and after the national economic boom of the 90s, Gary saw its crime rates steadily drop, but the recent recession and housing crisis have combined with difficult state and county policies to put a severe strain on the city government's revenue stream.
Gary is in crisis mode right now because we have a Republican governor who's trying to strangle the city financially, and U.S. Steel in the last 10 years has been able to get away without paying its fair share of taxes, and Daniels is union busting, destroying the welfare, the way welfare is that office is run, and because the Lake County won't pass an income tax, he's going to put the screws financially on Gary until the county changes its ways. So, all those things are tragic, but they're not the fault of somebody who lives in Gary.
Despite the difficulties, a number of new buildings have been erected in the last few years, including several acclaimed charter schools. Many businesses have also found success.
There are numerous bright spots. I mean, there are little islands of prosperity starting to crop up in the city of Gary, Indiana. One I'd like to point to first and foremost is the County Market Plaza located at 25th and Grant Street. That is a success story that continues to this day. So now we have a first-rate grocery store in the city of Gary, Indiana. That is a success story, and it's happening right here. A couple of things are contributing to that. They have an excellent location. It's very visible from the Borman Expressway. It's right in the city center, on the west side of the city. So, and it's next to one of the fastest growing neighborhoods, which is another indicator or harbinger of success in Gary. Small Farms, that neighborhood. There's new housing construction that has taken place and is continuing to take place in that neighborhood. And these are market rate homes in the city of Gary. The homes valued anywhere between $150,000 and $350,000. That's significant. That's a success story. And there's several others. even in this so-called stadium district in the downtown area, there's a new club called the Link Bar on Broadway, right in the city center.
According to Clement and others, there are reasons to be optimistic about Gary's future.
Gary has 3 definitive competitive advantages that bode well for the economic future of the city. One is a strong transportation infrastructure. We're located perfectly right here at the crossroads of America. We have interstate highway system passing right through Gary. You know, you can't go east or west, you know, unless you pass through Gary, Indiana. That's great. Secondly, we're located on a huge body of water. A lot of other municipalities would kill to have our location on Lake Michigan. You know, it's known as one of the largest freshwater bodies, you know, on the planet. And we're right here located on it. And we have a lot of undeveloped lakefront property in this city. So as we begin to develop that property, either for business use or for public use, that becomes a quality of life issue as well as an economic indicator. It bodes well for Gary's future. And I think whether we want it to happen or not, you know, Gary's going to grow because of that. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, our close proximity to Chicago. We're next to one of the greatest economic engines on the planet, and that has to bode well for us. Any prosperity or opportunity that happens or blossoms in Chicago is bound to spill over the border, because these borders are artificial anyway, and anybody in our field knows that. That economic opportunity is going to bleed this way.
Many of Gary's citizens, who have suffered through the difficult times, may ultimately find it worthwhile.
I believe that it's those more hardy individuals who are going to reap the benefits, those who are willing to stick it out, particularly in a city like Gary, because I'm going to tell you, and I'm no soothsayer, and I'm no gambling man, but if I were to wager a bet, I would say 5-10 years from now, Gary's going to look completely different. There's going to be untold opportunity right here in the city.